Okay, hey everybody, how are you doing? Tekking and Barry here. We got a couple of things I need to lay out right before we get into this video. Okay, two things. Number one, it's gonna get loud, alright? I'm just warning you in about maybe 20 seconds or 30 seconds or a minute. I don't know how long I'm gonna ramble on, but at some point, I'm gonna get very, very loud. So I'm just preparing you for that, okay? Second thing, spoilers. Like, really, really big spoilers. Like, I was going to start off this video by just shouting it in your ear, but I thought maybe I should, hold back on that. I should give you a little bit of warning. And, the thing I was going to shout was also going to be spoilers. So, alright, we all good? We alright? Okay, cool. I'm gonna shout now, alright? Is everybody alright? Okay, here we go, okay? BAM! Luffy punched out Kaido! Oh yeah, Luffy's Yonko level now, ladies and gentlemen. It's it. We finally reached the point in the story. After this, I want to see Luffy, boom, one-shot Big Mom, boom, one-shot Shanks, boom, one-shot Whitebeard. Even though he's dead, I want him to come back from the dead so Luffy can one-shot him. You know why? Because he's Yonko level now. I don't know when exactly he became Yonko level, but he's Yonko level now. Alright, we good? Alright, let's talk about this now. Okay, that's good. That was a good intro, Barry. That was a pretty fire intro. I'm proud of that intro. Okay. So, last chapter, chapter 1026, probably the focus, other than Jack and Sparrow's fights finishing up, is of course the scene where Luffy jumps off of a giant dragon and then punches another giant dragon, and the heavens above rip asunder, and the split looks a lot like when, Shanks and Whitebeard clashed on the Moby Dick, or the time Roger and Whitebeard clashed in their backstory, with Odin and everything. And that really does seem to be something that Oda is indicating that, like, really, really strong fighters are abound here, okay? I hesitate to say necessarily Yonko only, because technically Roger wasn't a Yonko, although he totally has the power level of a Yonko. Also, I feel like Rayleigh in his prime could also warrant the heavens to split. Same thing with Mihawk, same thing with, like, like the Admirals. Like, I'm sure if like when Akainu and Aokiji got really serious at Punk Hazard, I'm sure the heavens were split just the same. So it's not necessarily only for Yonko or only for the Emperors, but it's when you achieve a certain power level in the One Piece world, then like the shockwaves from your attacks or just the raw power of your Haki is literally affecting the sky. It resembles like the Emperor ring from Toriko, like when really strong like beasts, fight against each other, like a ring just appears in the sky. It's a really great symbolic way of showing that these characters literally have the power to warp nature. Like, not even talking about Logias that literally have the power to warp elements and nature, but like, no, just through sheer power and shockwaves and force of will, like, the heavens are ripped asunder. It's great. Also, I get to use the phrase ripped asunder, which is not something you get to use very often, but it's pretty damn cool. Alright, so, yeah, let's talk about that, because Luffy, kind of got his ass kicked twice by Kaido, and then he came back for the third round right here where we're at with Yamato and Momo and everybody being present, and now, nothing really seemed to have changed in terms of Luffy getting, like, stronger. It's not like he got some sort of crazy power-up in, like, the last, 20 chapters ever since he got knocked off of Onigashima, so why is this time different from the last time, right? Well, one thing definitely that changed, and I know this is kind of used for comedic effect a lot in One Piece, but it also is an integral part of how Luffy fights, and it's the fact that Luffy did just eat, like, a, 16-course meal before he got here, okay? I know a lot of times in the story it's like, oh, look at Luffy, he's made of rubber, that means he can shovel a bunch of food into his mouth, and he balloons up, and he's super fat, and he's just like, hey, everybody, I'm gonna be king of the pirates, it's funny, but at the same time, throughout the story, time and time again, that is how Luffy recovers from serious battle damage. Remember back when Magellan floored him at Impel Down, one of the few times in the story Luffy just got straight up defeated by an enemy with very minimal effort? It was, yes, Ivankov that used the healing hormones to get Luffy's immune system to defeat Magellan's poison, but then he had to devour, like, all of New Kama Land's food supply afterwards in order to really get back to sort of his regular fighting level, and he still needed a shot of adrenaline after that as well. But food equals power for Luffy. We all know about this. And here's something to bring up. Yes, Kaido is a dragon. He's got crazy endurance and everything. But I was just thinking about this, like, okay, all those huge high-octane attacks that Kaido's pulling off, like Boro Breath after Boro Breath. Like, how many Boro Breaths has Kaido used ever since this battle started? When he was fighting the Scabbards, and then fighting the Worst Generation, and then just fighting Luffy, and now, then fighting Yamato. Like, how many big attacks has he used? Boro Breath, the Lightning Breath, regular Dragon Twister, bigger Dragon Twister, plus the ability just to, like, fly itself. And the entire time this is going on, he's using the Flaming Clouds in order to lift a giant island over Wano. I'm just saying, like, yeah, that stuff has to eat up his stamina. He has godly amounts of it, but it has to be chipping away at his stamina a little bit. And yeah, Luffy got knocked off, he got injured, and Luffy, I would like to say, is not at like 100%. It's not like all the injuries he sustained from Kaido, all he has to do is just eat food and then the wounds automatically close. It's not like that. But Luffy got time to rest, so to speak. And the Heart Pirates looked at him a little bit. Now, the Heart Pirates are not all doctors. They're not great as, like, surgeons as Law is, of course, but they know a thing or two about first aid, and they mentioned they gave Luffy, some medicine and stuff in order to... No, actually, no, it wasn't mentioned they gave him medicine. He was drowning, and they pumped all the water out, and they didn't know what to do next, and they were like, should we give him some medicine? Like some Advil or something? But anyway, I feel like they sort of performed, like, rudimentary first aid on him at the very least, and then he devoured all the food that Caribou brought, so Luffy got time to recover, and now he's back as probably as close to 100% as he's going to get in this fight, okay? Meanwhile, Kaido the entire time has really had no time to rest. I mean, there's a few intervals in between battles, where he was able to kind of hang out up there on the roof and just wait for the next person to fight him, but he hasn't had time to rest, he hasn't eaten any food, he hasn't drank any sake, and I'm assuming that's like the source of Kaido's power or whatever. I'm just saying that regardless of how strong you are, Kaido is still... Alright, I don't want to say human because he uses the term ogre and he's very clearly like giant, so he's like ancient giant, but he's still a living being, okay? He's gotta run out of gas at some point, okay? And maybe that's the point Oda's trying to make here. It's just like, yeah, the only way to really beat Kaido is you gotta wear him down first, except for under normal circumstances that would be impossible because Kaido has the most endurance and stamina and strength, like just raw physical strength out of pretty much every character in One Piece. And I actually, you know what? I stand by that. Like, when we're just talking pure physical strength, like let's use like arm wrestling for an example, like how the Phantom Troop are ranked in Hunter x Hunter or whatever, I would say Kaido is probably the physically strongest in arm wrestling. Like even against like Akainu, Shanks, Rayleigh, some of the strongest characters, Mihawk, I would say in like a pure strength contest, Kaido would win. Even against like Big Mom, for instance, okay? I can't really think of any like insanely physically powerful character that would be more so than Kaido. I mean, maybe Whitebeard if he was still alive, maybe Roger if he was still alive and in his prime. But even in that situation, I would still probably put money on Kaido. I would put money on Whitebeard too. I'd like split my bets a little bit, but I definitely would put more on Kaido. But that's like really what Oda's going for here. The old proverb, if it's one-on-one, Kaido wins. You can kind of see that given how all the characters had to come together, and Kaido is really not showing. Like, I'm sure he's worn down a little bit, and we see injuries from time to time, like when Yamato and Kaido clashed a couple chapters ago, Kaido was clearly bleeding. Zoro did the Ashura. A lot of times we see him taking damage, but he might just heal really, really fast, okay? And so it's like you gotta wear him down, and he didn't have time to rest or really, heal in between these fights. Like, literally, we're jumping from Yamato and Kaido right to Momo biting him, and then Luffy showing up and then punching him in the face, okay? So, Luffy got time to recover. He's probably not going to get another chance to do this, but he's as close as he can to full power, and also, it gave him more time to really think through the whole Conqueror's Haki Ryuo thing. That was really like an 11th hour sort of revelation he had, where, Law and Kid were gone to fight against Big Mom, Zoro was out of the fight, Killer was out of the fight as well, went to go fight Hawkins, and it was just Luffy and Kaido, and he's like, I got this. And then he figured out, oh, wait a second, I can do this little trick with Conquerors and my armament and Ryuo, and I can damage you using that technique, okay? But Kaido is obviously way more experienced at using that than Luffy, and Luffy just figured it out. So it's no freaking wonder Kaido was able to, like, home run him outside of Onigashima and knock him to the ground, right? Once again, also, if Luffy didn't have a lot of people helping him out, he would have just straight up drowned, and that would have been the end of One Piece right there. I guess we could follow One Piece with the journey of Zoro, I guess. Sanji Sanji, maybe. You know, let's see. Maybe we can travel with Chopper. It's like, all right, Luffy's dead. I want to travel with Chopper and see what he's gonna do. You know, is he still gonna be the greatest doctor? Tune in and find out. So, with the help of other people, he was able to get back up there, and he had some time to really run it through into his head of just like, okay, all right, I think I got the trick of how this works. I've eaten. I've sort of collected myself. I'm really motivated. You know, Momo's there. He's a giant dragon. Nothing motivates you more than a giant dragon that's going to lend you his aid, okay? It's just like, yeah, Momo, let's ride Onigashima on the giant dragon and let's defeat Kaido once and for all, okay? So, the way I explained it in the review was that don't look at this like Luffy's strength level and Kaido's strength level is just like even keel right now all the time. I mean, like as I said, in terms of physical strength, Kaido would probably win any day of the week consistently. But think of it like Luffy's power sort of spiking, you know, especially when he uses the Conqueror's technique and he goes into Gear 4th and he really focuses and then he's at full strength, he's got a full belly. Boom! At that moment, at that instant, Luffy could be comparable to Kaido, like at that Yonko level, alright? And in terms of bounty, he's already been Yonko level for a little while now, but this is like the first chapter we're really starting to see, you know, him going up against one-on-one a Yonko, and it's like it is comparable. We've actually seen the sky split as we saw with like Shanks and everybody, okay? Now, is he going to be able to keep this up? That's the million-dollar question I posed in the review, and it's a big one, right? Because, yeah, one attack against Luffy and Dragon Kaido, you know, they clash and they get, like, knocked back or whatever. Maybe Luffy's fist is bleeding a little bit. Kaido, you know, his face is bleeding. Maybe Luffy, you know, caused one of his eyes to get swollen shut or something, and he's just like, Straw Hat, you've gained power, but how long can you hold up? You know, and because Luffy, yeah, he had some extra time to plan this out, but he's still a newbie when it comes to that Conqueror's technique. Kaido's got the skills. Also, I want to bring this up, like, this isn't a secret. Everybody knows about this, but, so, most of the Yonko use a primary weapon in order to fight their opponents, right? Like, Shanks has Griffin, Whitebeard had Murakumo Giri, Big Mom has Napoleon, Kaido usually uses, you know, his trusty Kanabo Hasaikai, right? Not in his dragon form, and that was the form Luffy punched him last time. I wonder what happens to the Kanabo after Kaido turns into a dragon. Is it like D&D rules where the Kanabo like merges with him? Because Kaido has gone back and forth between regular form, hybrid form, and dragon form many, many times in this fight, and it's just like, dragon, back to hybrid, I just have the Kanabo now. Maybe he wears it like a necklace. It's like dangling off of his dragon neck, and we just never see it. But whatever. Anyway, he uses Hasaikai. He uses a Kanabo in order to fight, right? You know what Luffy's primary weapon is here? These hands, you know? He was able to do the same thing that, like, when Shanks' Griffin and Whitebeard's Murakumo Giri clashed on the Moby Dick. That created that. Roger had Ace, you know, and he clashed with Whitebeard. You know, that created the sky thing. Luffy did this with just his bare freaking hands. Granted, Kaido was just in his dragon form, but I feel like the same idea is there. Like, if Kaido were to go back into his regular form or his hybrid and pull out Hasaikai and use that against Luffy, and then Luffy used the Conqueror's attack, it would result in the same sky split sort of situation, okay? So, I mean, like, everybody knows how Luffy fights. Luffy does not use a weapon. He's never used a weapon. Well, okay, he used swords like 3 times in the story, but the primary way Luffy uses his Gamu Gamu no techniques is all just with his hands, or his feet, or his head, you know, and then he charges that up with Haki, and it's just crazy to think that Luffy could contend with a Yonko in that class of characters without using a weapon to channel his Haki into. Luffy doesn't need no Saijo Owazamono grade sword. He doesn't need a giant club with a really cool sounding name from My Hero Academia. He doesn't need any of that. He doesn't need a sword named after a French general from the 1800s. All he needs is these hands, alright? So that's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive indeed. Now, going along with that, would you be okay if the rest of this fight pretty much just plays out that we see in this chapter? We still have some other fights to resolve. The Killer and Hawkins fight has to still finish up. We still have the fights with Zoro and Sanji and Queen and King, and then ultimately the Kid and Law versus Big Mom fight, probably going to be the penultimate battle here. But are you okay with just, like, you know, cutting away for a little while and then cutting back to the final battle between Luffy and Kaido, and it just continues on this way, where Luffy is seemingly equal to Kaido, and they just exchange blow after blow, and then eventually Luffy just, BAM! Final shot, knocks down Kaido, and he wins. I would say, I mean, it would be cool, right? Like, just the scene itself of Luffy doing that, just getting into a bare-knuckle boxing match with Kaido, and that's how we finish this off. But I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen. Just look at all the damage Kaido took, and how many fucks does he give? Zero. He gives none. Seriously. He just, like, even after the Ashura, he's, like, bleeding, and he's like, wow, you really hurt me. That's gonna leave a scar. You know, give it like a chapter or two. He doesn't even seem to be bleeding much anymore. He doesn't seem like the injury's causing him any pain. Like, literally the last chapter when Momo bit Kaido, you know, on his dragon ass, or wherever that was, like, that perfectly sums up how Kaido responds in this fight. Like, from the very beginning to right now. Like, Momo bites Kaido. Kaido, you know, yells in, you know, pain, like, ah! And then, in the next scene, Kaido's like, ah! What are you doing? Really? You bit me? You know, that's pretty much it. Like, Zoro, Ashura. Oh my god, that sort of kind of hurts. Whatever. You know, Killer's sonic blades, you know, when Kid was attacking with his metal arm, when Law was using his thing with the rubble, when Luffy hit him with the red rock, he has like a moment of pain and he's just like, I'll sleep that off tonight, not a big deal. He is taking damage, certainly, and he has to hit his limit at some point. Like, that's the whole point. But, I mean, like, so far, it doesn't really seem to be damaging him. I guess what I'm saying here is that, Oda cannot do this, where it's like Kaido kind of like, you know, doesn't take a lot of damage, doesn't take a lot of damage, doesn't take a lot of damage, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Kaido begins to, like, start reeling. Like, his vision starts going blurry. Like, up until this point, he was, like, seemingly okay with fighting, and then out of nowhere, he just, whoa, one more attack, and that's all it's gonna take, and then Luffy just, bam, and then he hits the floor, and then that's it, right? The way that Oda would have to do this, that at least would make me happy, is, like, let's say next chapter, after this clash, he shows at least some lasting damage for Kaido. Like, after this big, epic, sky-splitting, torn-asunder crash, Kaido lands, and he's like, oh, whatever, you stupid brat. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, that really rattled me. Alright, not used to feeling that. Okay, well, let's continue the fight. Oda has to start really showing that Kaido is taking damage, and then the fight resumes. And then Luffy continues to fight Kaido for several more chapters and expanding on the injuries from both parties, because there's no way Luffy's not going to be taking damage from this too. He is, and he's going to be getting tired. You know, he's not going to just keep this up all night, right? But he has to start establishing this. And so then after a few chapters where Kaido is already shown to be like there's a lot of cool things you could do. You could have the scene where Kaido's like kind of dizzy, or like this one attack took him longer to recover than all the other ones. His vision's starting to go. Maybe he has like a wound on his body that Luffy punched or something. Like Luffy punched the spot where Zoro sliced him with Ashura. And then it's really bleeding. Like it's gushing like a freaking fire hydrant, right? And then Kaido's like, it's not a big deal. My wounds usually stop bleeding in only a couple of minutes. And then a couple of minutes go by and he's like, oh shit, it's still bleeding. That's not good. And so he has to do something like that, because otherwise if he's just perfectly fine, and like, oh wait, no, this is the final bout. Bam, done. Be like, okay, well he didn't show any indication that he was injured up until now. But then again, I mean, like, that might just be the point. Like, Kaido is so strong, or he has, like, such a... Well, no, he definitely has pain tolerance. You can't say he's like, well, he's taking so much damage, and he really is close to being defeated, but, you know, he's just so good at, like, hiding it, and plus all the booze he drinks, maybe he's numb to it. Because he definitely feels pain, you know, like when Momo bit him. He definitely... That definitely hurt, all right? Let me ask this question. Let me put it another way altogether, because some of this might be a little bit abstract. Okay. From 0 to 100 HP, where is Kaido at right now? Where is Kaido at before Luffy and him clashed last chapter? Because we still don't know the ramifications of that. We still don't know what they're going to be looking like after that clash is over. Like, where's Luffy going to be? Where Kaido, if he's going to be bleeding? So, up until when Luffy and Kaido attack each other, last chapter, so pretty much ending like the scene where Momo bites Kaido's tail, and then Luffy shows up and kicks him in the face, knocks him away. What's Kaido's HP at that point? Are we at 50? Are we at 70? Are we at like 25? Or there's some people that are like, man, he must be at like 10. He must be reeling at this point. I want to gauge what everybody really thinks about this. If I had to guess, okay, I would say, being generous, 50 HP. That's right. I seriously think, like, we're barely at half at this point, right? That's why I think, like, it can't just be Luffy. Yamato has to help out. Maybe there could be a scene where some of the samurai, after their fights are over, they can come up there and help. Some of the Straw Hats can get up there and help him. I really think that's going to be, like, the final part of this. You know, Luffy can maybe knock him down from the orange into the red, but we're going to have a lot of other people show up to fight back here, right? Like something. But I don't think this means that Luffy from this arc onward can just go around and just, like, you know, it's like, oh, well, the admirals don't mean anything to me anymore. You know, Blackbeard is going to be a cakewalk for me because I was able to clash with Kaido. And that's another thing, too. Blackbeard in particular has some very unusual techniques, like the Yami Yami no Mi. A fight with Kaido is more or less a fight with strength. You know, strength and endurance, right? And yeah, he's got the Boro Breath, he's got lightning and everything like that. But Blackbeard's abilities, like, you know, negate Devil Fruit powers. He has abilities that can, like, absorb your essence and draw you into, like, his black vortex and, like, crush you with gravity. Not to mention all the other crazy Devil Fruits he might have stolen in the interval, and plus just his weird body in and of itself. So a fight against Blackbeard is not going to be the same thing as a fight against Kaido with, like, mostly strength and endurance. You know, Blackbeard, you have to be a little bit more tactical, and he has a lot of weird abilities, right? So, yeah, like, Luffy's not just going to be able to do this. Also, like, let's say, yeah, at this point, like, Luffy might have enough physical strength to, like, you know, KO Akainu after a really tough fight, but Akainu also has the ability to summon, like, a wall of magma that can, like, melt your fist. You know what I mean? So that's what Akainu could do. He's like, yeah, if this attack that Luffy used against Kaido in this last chapter, if he, like, you know, point blank just BAM! Struck Akainu right in the center of the forehead with that attack, that would probably crack his skull. That would probably maybe either knock him out or, like, you know, send him reeling. He's got magma. He's got all this other stuff he could be throwing at you to melt your freaking fist off before it can even reach you, right? So, yeah, a lot of fights coming up in One Piece after Wano, and a lot of them are going to be a little bit more tactical or intricate than what we have here. This is more of just a slugfest. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. That's where we're at right now. Let me know down below. Let's get a status on Kaido's HP count right now if he was a Pokemon. Let's go with that. Also, ooh, I don't know. Do you want to go with the idea that, like, he's the kind of boss character that if you knock him down into the red, then he goes into, like, a crazy berserk form? Like, that would be nuts, but that would be, I really couldn't put it off, considering he gets drunk, he has, like, the angry drunk or whatever. Maybe if you, like, knock him down into the red, all of a sudden Kaido just, like, gets infuriatingly berserk mad and just starts wrecking everything around him. Like, he's not even paying attention to anything anymore. Maybe his skin goes from blue to red, and he just, like, starts venting like Majin Buu or something. I don't know why I'm going with that, but okay. And it's like, alright, like, Kaido will not accept just being taken down, alright? He has to, like, he's like, alright, if I'm going down, I'll just take the whole damn island with me, you know, something like that. Just firing Boro Breaths wherever he goes in, like, every direction, releasing just massive torrents of Tatsumaki, of, Dragon Twisters and stuff, like, that might be the kind of boss he is. We'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, Luffy, I want to say third time's the charm fighting him, but yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to do this on your own, buddy, but for a little while, it's going to be damn cool. Alright, well, thanks for watching. This will be Tekking101 and Barry signing out. Later, everybody. Torn asunder!